Hello there, and welcome into the Cricket Trilogy, a new show here on Global Cricket Radio with me and my co host Indusan, who we'll come to in just a moment. But we're going to be doing a 3 day a week show talking about all things in the world of cricket. And although there's no cricket being played in the last few days over the New Year period, still plenty to talk about, isn't there, Indusan?
Of course, Andy, and first of all, wish you a happy new year and happy new year to all of our listeners all around the globe.
Yeah, and I think Sri Lanka's got a series coming up very soon against Zimbabwe. Of course, we've got the third test between Australia and Pakistan starting tomorrow in Sydney, and also the second test between India and South Africa in Cape Town. So plenty of cricket coming up, and then of course we move into things like the CA20 that's not too far away. So there's always things going on in the world of cricket. And Indusan, you mentioned when we were chatting before the show that there's a bit of change going on at Cricket Sri Lanka at the moment. New selectors,
Yes,
new captains. What's happening?
because as you know, in the last Sri Lanka show, also we spoke a little bit about these changes, and Sri Lanka actually got new entire selection panel got changed. So we have Upul Taranga, the former player, is the current chief selector, and under him so many other former players who doesn't like who were not this flamboyant during their time have been picked up and given some assignment. So they have decided to go with I think there's no overhaul change, no wholesale change on the as we all anticipated or predicted or feared, perhaps to an extent. But they have made some changes, especially in the leadership. They have split the white ball captaincy, and officially the Dasun Shanaka era in Sri Lanka's cricket has ended. And now Kusal Mendes is going to lead the one-day cricket, and Vanindu Hasaranga is going to lead the T20 side. And
Oh,
surprisingly, they have selected Charitha Salanga as the vice captain for both white ball formats.
so what was the rationale for? I mean, I know it's kind of trendy these days to have. I mean, New Zealand's got about four different captains going on at the moment. I mean, it's kind of
It's a
crazy.
workload management thing. I know that New Zealand has a workload management thing, and then Kane's injury and Tom Latham kind of like stepping up to fill the shoes. But in Sri Lanka, perhaps again is the workload management. That's what the selectors thinking. Perhaps they haven't actually given any official communication about the rationale behind this thought, but this is what widely written and spoken about it. And perhaps because Sri Lanka has this worst history about these injuries and players not completing or playing together as the team, the original team which is picked up. They hardly played together. Like one or two players and always are out, in and out because of the injuries and stuff. So perhaps to manage that, and they have this upcoming T20 World Cup in focus, because the one day cricket we have little bit time to catch up. I don't know whether we catch up or not. That's a different story. But the T20 World Cup is coming back, and so we got some surprising selections for that in that probable T20 squad against Zimbabwe as well.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about this. Like even the even the West Indies at the moment, I think they've got a different captain in every form of the match. I think Rovman Powell's the one day, the T20 captain, Shea Hope in the one day international side, and just escapes me at the moment who's their Test captain. But it just seems to be a trend these days. But I sometimes wonder what it must be like, to have a different captain in every format. How that goes towards building, leadership and a style of play and all of those things. I can't imagine it's that easy to actually achieve successfully.
Mm, it's very difficult to be honest because I think even the Harsha Bogle once spoke about it because you need to have a culture in this team and you need to know how this thing captain thinks and he has a way of like doing things or like there might be a set of players he might want to back them and he might have different plans. So like just imagine like within 1 week just look at the players who are playing both T20s and one days in for example in Sri Lanka's cricket or just take Charita Salanka like just you have these 3 one-day matches. Kusal Mendes has his own way of like doing things and then within a week he have to listen to what Vanidu Hasaranga does
Yeah.
and Kusal Mendes doesn't have any say. He have to just go and sit in the. I mean, he must be like doing this keeper work. So it's kind of like a little strange for us as well because in good old days Sri Lanka had the most consistent way because I think from 1996 you pick a captain they run the 4 years like back then we didn't have T20s but then after the World Cup only the transition happened from Ranatunga to Sanat Jayasuriya, then Mavanatha to Mahela Jayawardena, Kumar Sangakkara. So you see, they actually captained 3 4 years, and the transition happened like that. And then we stumbled upon a very bad period, like one Indian tour. I think there were 9 matches all across formats. Sri Lanka had like 4 or 5 captains around that 9 matches because when you change captains like that, you get this. They get penalized for slow overage, right? Because you all of a sudden put somebody as a captain. So those kind of things also we had, and then after a long time we had this consistency about selectors wanted to back up to Basil
Yeah.
Chanaka.
Yeah, I just really wonder about it. I mean, another example, of course, is Pakistan, where Shan Masood is now the Test captain. Shaheen Shah Afridi's going to be the T20 captain, so he'll have his first series as captain when Pakistan comes to New Zealand. They haven't even announced who the one-day captain is yet. I mean, my money's probably on Muhammad Rizwan for that one, but it does. Yeah, I don't know. I just think having one captain, like Pat Cummins is, for example, and you can see how successful Australia are because they've got one captain. So
Yeah, I mean, because they kind of like the stability, and you need to give them a considerable time of to run and experiment and fail and figure out things, how to do things. So I think I'm also like in pretty much maybe like you in that old school thought of like one captain running the three format, but that's how it is.
yeah, yeah. I just remembered it's Craig Braithwaite who's the Test captain in the Caribbean, and what you know.
Oh,
Um, but anyway, it seems to be the way things are going. Yeah, and I just also just find, for example, with New Zealand, Tim Southee's the Test captain, Kane Williamson's the limited overs captain, but Williamson's not playing, and then Santner's the captain of the T20 side with Southee still in the team. It just must be confusing. But anyway, that's the way it's going. And just looking ahead to cricket coming up, what's your what's your feeling about the Test match in Sydney? Firstly, um, I think
I mean,
Pakistan played extremely well in the second Test match in Melbourne. Um, Bubba's getting a lot of criticism online at the moment. People are saying he needs a rest and all this sort of thing. Um, he's getting out consistently in the same sorts of ways. But
mm,
do you think Pakistan could steal a victory in the last match?
but I'm sorry because I should speak a little bit pessimistic in Pakistan because I heard that today that they're resting Shaheen Shah Afridi. So he's kind of like the main bowler who gives you the breakthrough, or like who comes in the middle and like give you the wickets every time you want. So how much the incoming bowler will be able to fill his shoes is a big problem. And then Pakistan, as you said, they had their moments. I think the second day they completely dominated. So likewise, they had their moments and their way of like doing things, and they were a bit aggressive in their approach, and they tried everything possible. But they again, like, they actually lost this game by themselves because they dropped
Mm.
catches, and there were some no balls, and all these things, like there's some silly mistakes perhaps costed them a historical moment, because it's been a while that they won a test match in Australia. So,
Yeah,
but
oh,
anyway, that you,
I'm a bit.
Pakistan being Pakistan, you don't write them off,
No,
right?
never.
You can't write them off, right?
But
So
I'm a bit surprised they've left a Freddie out of the side. I mean, I would have thought that he's just coming into really, really good form, after injury and a so World Cup. I mean, why would you leave him out? I mean, don't they want to win the game?
they do, but I think they might be. I think what's going on back of their mind is what happened to Nazim Shah. Perhaps they overused Nazim Shah. There are so many matches, like, where he could have been rested, he played, right? So that gave Nazim Shah too much workload. And what happened? They missed Nazim Shah the exact time, or the mostly they wanted him to play. So perhaps they are like thinking those kind of things, because everybody's now planning around these ICC trophies, right?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It just doesn't sit easily with me. I mean, Australia is going to play the same bowling lineup for the third test in a row. I mean, you look at Stuart Broad in England last year now, isn't it? 2023. I mean, he played every test match and did incredibly well. And like I say, no, Shane Shah Afridi's just coming into really good form. I mean, if I was him, I wouldn't want to be rested. I'd want to be playing the game. Maybe they can manage. I mean, he did bowl a lot of overs. It must be said. He bowled more than anyone else in that match. But yeah, I'd be wanting to play. And if I was Shan Masood too, I'd want my best bowler playing.
You do. I mean, because even I want to do that, and most of the time the players also wanted to play as much as game as they want, because they have this hunger to we take more wickets and win matches and all these things. But these days, like, and the story you so spoke about Stuart Broad, it's I accept that absolutely, because Stuart Broad is a different kind of bowler. I mean, he was in his late 30s, but he I think he was most picked by most of the like pundits and veterans, part of their test team of the year. So different players have different fitness level and all these things. So
Yeah, I think you're right. I think in Broad's case, there's just no way he wasn't going to play because he was bowling so well, and he would have demanded Ben Stokes play him. But I get I but I guess also it's like in Pakistan, obviously they run a slightly different system where it's not so much the coach or it's the team director, I guess he's called now, Muhammad Hafiz. It's just a bit. There's a bit of a different dynamic in how they select the side, and maybe one of the things, the Bubba was criticised a lot because of selecting his mates basically, and maybe Shan Masood doesn't have as much say in the selection. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But speaking
I mean,
of
but
speaking,
one thing,
yeah,
uh, when it comes to West Indies, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, there's so much mystery about around the selections and who have more power at a given time or something like that. It's a very complicated thing.
yeah, yeah, maybe too complicated at times. But speaking of
Yes.
speaking of Muhammad Hafiz, did you catch up with that news that he missed the plane to Sydney?
It is. It was hilarious because he by himself imposed some fines, right, on players, because you aren't supposed to come late to the training, you're not supposed to come late to the travel and all. Because I understand that, I accept that, because there should be some sort of discipline which they all should follow. But after imposing that, he got late. So that was like maybe very unfortunate, because he's a very professional player. He played for a long, long time. Might be some emergency or something like that, because might be, but it was it
No,
was it
no,
was quite
he was in the airport. He was in the airport.
okay.
It's
Okay.
not like he checked in late. He had already checked in.
Okay.
He was,
Oh, all right. Okay. So then that's something again a mystery.
yeah, yeah. I sort of joked that maybe he got sidetracked in a bookstore or something because he didn't want to pay the money for the magazine, so he was reading it and just forgot lost track of time.
True enough. True enough.
Yeah, but that is hilarious, isn't it? When the team director sets the policies and then misses the plane
Yes.
himself. But
Exactly.
well, he
Exactly.
can't
Exactly.
he can't drop himself, and presumably he won't fine himself either. Um, and I guess just another thing about the Test match in Sydney. Of course, it's going to be David Warner's last Test match. But
Mm,
isn't it
mm,
bizarre? Isn't it bizarre? He's just come out with his 1 day retirement just as a test match is about to start. I mean, what did he just suddenly wake up and decide he doesn't want to play 1 day cricket anymore? That I found was bizarre, the timing of it and everything. But he's doing this kind of well, not really retiring because there's a Champions Trophy next year,
mm, mm,
and I'm still
mm,
available for that. So it's just
mm.
I sort of don't like the way players can kind of pick and choose what they want to do now either. And we know the fundamental reasons for it is that he wants to play
Yeah.
more league cricket.
Yes.
But what have you made of this Warner staying in the headlines again?
What is, I mean, there are few people, I think they are controversy's favorite child, right? So whatever they do, kind of like things get blown up, and perhaps like David Warner, yes, I wish, I seriously would love to see him playing more one-day cricket. Perhaps he could have been taught that, uh, I mean, like, uh, you see, the next World Cup is coming in 4 years, right? So it's a very very long period. And you're just done with playing one, and perhaps he wanted to quit his one-day career on peak
Yeah.
when you're just just won the World Cup and as a world champion or something like that.
Well,
And
but that sort of begs the question why he didn't just retire at the end of the World Cup. On the last day, say I'm going to finish after this match, or maybe the next day after winning the World Cup, retire. Just I don't know. I just think it's something about Warner. He just doesn't have the best sense of timing. And the
understand
story,
your concern over
the,
uh,
the story with
yeah.
Warner
So
continues though, mate.
yes.
Like, have you read today that he's lost his baggy green cap?
I mean, that's so unfortunate, and it was so strange for me because like countries like Australia, where they have all these advanced surveillance systems, and you see that the extreme amount of professionalism has been shown in almost every area, and all of a sudden you see this, and it was hilarious. And I am with Shan Masood that you should have a nationwide search for it because this man had a lengthy career and has done so much for your country, and that's a very prized possession. And you know something, Warner's baggy green was damaged. Smith's and Warner's baggy greens were damaged when they were playing in Sri Lanka. So they kept it in the goal stadium, and when some rats went and they kind of like damaged it. So I feel really guilty about it as well. And now you see this Warner story about it. I know whoever actually took it, that's so bad.
Oh,
In case if you are listening to our story, please return back to Warner.
yeah. I mean, it for someone to steal his cap is it's unforgivable, really. That
It
whoever
is. It is.
who
It's a crime. It's a crime.
it is,
It's a.
but it's just it just kind of makes me wonder though, like did this person have a vendetta against Warner and just wanted him to go out in his last match without his cap, or was it just some opportunist that thought, oh, that looks pretty cool? It's someone's cricket bag, because presumably they didn't know what the contents were. But it also made me wonder whether Warner might have taken a little bit better care of his baggy green. But yeah, very unfortunate for it to go missing just before his last match. That's yeah, and you know how much the Aussies
I mean,
They have so much
of
pride in
course,
the
of
cap.
course, of course, of
Um,
course, of course.
yeah, so hopefully hopefully that one gets resolved. Um, anyway, so the other match starting tomorrow, of course, is India against South Africa, and India's missed the chance to win in South Africa for the first time, and it's also Dean Elgar's last Test match tomorrow, and I recorded another show here on Global Cricket Radio with the veteran South African broadcaster Neil Manthorpe a couple of days ago, and I asked him. I said, "Why? What's the reason that Elgar's actually retiring?" Because I thought maybe he'd thought, well, I don't want to go to New Zealand with a weakened side, but it turns out that's not the case at all. He'd actually been asked to retire by the coach, well, not retire, just say, look, I'm probably not going to pick you anymore. And it does seem a bit bizarre, though. Apparently, Neil told me Elgar was dead keen to go to New Zealand, but he won't be going. And his experience would have been extremely valuable in New Zealand, particularly with the players that they've selected, and a vastly weakened squad. So yeah, I think Dean Elgar's, for a guy that's had a lengthy career for his country, to be kind of forced into retirement is a bit unfortunate and a bit sad, really. And it reminds me of when Ross Taylor had to retire halfway through a summer, a few years ago, after New Zealand played Bangladesh, before New Zealand played South Africa. Don't you think some of these, you know, big servants of the game deserve a little bit better? Oh, it looks like we might have just lost Indusan there. Are you there, Indusan? Okay, looks like we've just lost Indusan. Not quite sure what's happening there. Um, but anyway, so no, the second test between South Africa and India starts tomorrow in at Newlands in Cape Town. Lovely ground there too. I went there. Actually, it must have been the third of January, 2000, just after the millennium. Actually, I watched South Africa against England, um, and really memorable experience too. Very memorable experience. The Boerewors sausages, the castle lagers, sitting on the grass. The tickets were so cheap, I remember that. Uh, and then South Africa, um, I can't remember what actually happened in the result of that game, but it was a really great day's play. I remember Alan Donald bowling a brilliant spell to England late in the day. Um, and anyway, so that was my Newlands experience. And so India's got a chance to level the series tomorrow. Or start the match starting tomorrow, and of course they'll be, desperate to put up a better fight than they did at the first test in Centurion, where I mean their first innings was so. They scored 260 odd, but then when South Africa responded with 408, India's second innings was just woeful. They were bowled out in 31 overs, and only Virat Kohli put up any form of resistance, and guys throwing their wickets away. KL Rahul, who batted so well in the first innings, played a horrible shot in the second innings. Ravichandran Ashwin, literally first ball he faced, slashed it a wide one, was caught in the gully, and it was a bit of a procession after that. But I can hear you back now, Indu-san. What do you think India's
Right.
prospect? What do you think
Uh,
India's
the,
prospects are in Cape Town?
I think India definitely have the skill set to surprise South Africa. Perhaps South Africa was too good for them in the first inning. So if they take a little bit serious about how to approach the balls and especially take it by session because Kohli played well in the second innings, and as you mentioned, Rahul played extremely well in the first innings, but they didn't get any help from anyone around them in that power pack batting lineup. So that might be a biggest concern for India to look into it. And the toss also plays a crucial role, perhaps the very first day with kind of moisture in the ground and with the grass covering. It might be very, very difficult for them to face the likes of Rabada and Andre Berger and everybody. So India does have a chance, but obviously they don't start as the favorites. Perhaps they might try to see they can win something in South Africa.
Yeah, yeah, their batting certainly needs to improve, and particularly the top three. I mean, Rohit Sharma is a skipper, and we
Mm,
know what a quality player he is, and
mm.
he needs to fire. Jaiswal, he's only into his, I think it's his fourth Test match now. He's young. He's got an immense amount of talent, a stack of first class hundreds behind him, and just a few matches. And Shubman Gill hasn't exactly been setting, batting records or anything either. So there's so much scope to improve, and I'm with you. I think they have got a chance. I mean, their bowling attack's great, of course. Yes, they're missing Mohammad Shami, but we all know how good Bumrah is. Siraj as well, and yeah, remains to be seen. I just wonder too how much they're missing Ravindra Jadeja just for his ability to basically get through a
I mean,
load
he's
of.
one of the classy all-rounders,
Yeah,
and a very, very important part in that lineup. So they must be really missing him badly.
yeah, indeed. Hey, just just something else you pointed out to me. Speaking of cricket in South Africa, the Netherlands is having a tour of South Africa soon, and they're going to be playing against the domestic, well, the SA20 sides. That came as a bit of a surprise to me.
Perhaps it kind of like indicates us how the future of cricket is going to be. But it was nice of these franchises to play against a team like Netherlands because that's kind of like we always say these leagues are very bad. They are eating up the international cricket and all these things. But they were nice enough to host Netherlands because Netherlands is a very passionate team and I really love them. And I even ordered a Netherlands jersey in this World Cup, that orange jersey. So they deserve something really good. And it's sad because countries like UAE, I mean, they have the infrastructure, so they can host Netherlands, right? Because this is the time the Netherlands players doesn't play county cricket, so it's kind of like the off season. But things doesn't happen. But when things happen like this, I will be very happy to see this happen because the very first time I think an international team is playing against the franchise team.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not like Pakistan had a warm up match against the Perth Scorchers or something, or um, they won't be playing against the
They
New
do, they
Zealand.
do.
Yeah, I mean they're not
Yeah.
when they go to New Zealand, they're not going to be playing against local Super Smash sides. So it is a very cool thing.
Mm.
But it just made me wonder.
Yeah, of
I
course.
wonder what players the Netherlands will take because I think of Logan van Beek, for example. He plays his domestic cricket in New Zealand, and so he's right in the middle of his season. I wonder if he'll be joining his side in the Netherlands. Sorry, in South Africa.
Because Netherlands doesn't have this problem because when they went to Zimbabwe for the qualifiers, five of their main players, including Rudolf van der Merwe, right, and they were not allowed to be part of Netherlands team because of their county deals. So they were able to manage and navigate Zimbabwe, West Indies, and Scotland, and everybody in that series means they will definitely navigate this as well.
Yeah, um, yeah. I think actually Van Beek did play in those qualifiers, but so
He did, he did.
maybe his deal at Worcestershire started after that. I don't remember exactly, but
Mm.
um, hey, just one
But
final
like,
just one final.
Genuinely, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, we're still finding our rhythm here, myself and Indu.
Of course, this is the
Yeah.
second show, so
Well, it's we don't have the luxury of sitting in a studio in Gaul, do we? I'm in Bali and you're in Colombo, so it's not it's not so easy. But just the last thing I wanted to touch on is the DRS in cricket. I've thought for a while I'm not completely convinced with the quality of the technology or the accuracy of. Well, no, it's not the accuracy, but just there's been a few instances that I can think of in the last year where it looks like DRS is showing us things that actually haven't happened. And when Pat Cummins got out the other day in Melbourne, DRS showed that he had nicked it. He didn't think he had hit it. The umpire obviously didn't think he had hit it, but DRS showed that he had hit it. And it looked very debatable whether the ball went anywhere near his bat. I mean, what do you think about this? Or can you think of other instances where DRS looks to be finding something that's not there?
players have complained enough. I think last time when India went to South Africa, I hope you had this Virat Kohli stump mic incident. He was going to the stump mic and he was scolding the DRS system, saying that that one Ashwin's ball, I forgot who's the batter, so it should have been actually hitting the stumps. So it happens on and off. I understand no technology is perfect yet, because if at all people find sometimes the COVID vaccines causing some sort of side effect, what about DRS? But we should understand one thing, like until we find out something better than DRS, maybe like something accurate than DRS, we have to go with this. So
Yeah,
what
I mean,
happened to Pat Cummins was unfortunate, I
yeah,
know,
I mean,
but
and I feel sorry for the third umpire because the third umpire doesn't really have a choice, right? If Ultra Edge says he hit it, he's got to give it out. But it was
yes,
pretty
yes.
pretty obvious when you saw it with the front on view. It just looked like it was missing the bat, and Cummins was like, "I didn't hit that. How can I be given out? How can how can
I
I?"
think it happened twice, and even the ball, I think Rizwan got out. There was lot of confusion, but then they saw that it actually touched the handband of the glove, and unfortunately Rizwan was wearing a glove with a big handband.
Yeah,
So likewise, cricket is, as I told you, because cricket is very much imperfect. You just really ask, this famous incident happened between Angelo Matthews and Shakib Al Hasan there. Umpires warning Angelo Matthews, and a Bangladeshi player heard that and he went to Shakib Al Hasan, and then Shakib Al Hasan appealed it. So many of my Sri Lankan friends asked, like, why umpire spoke very loudly. So likewise, you have this gray area and all these things around the cricket. And it's still evolving. So
yeah,
perhaps somebody else, whoever, if you are a what do you call it as a mathematics student, write a model which might be an alternative for DRS for your PhD, perhaps.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I yeah, I just find it kind of crazy that no one seems to be
It is,
questioning the technology.
yes.
I don't hear many people speaking out and saying, "Well, there's something wrong with it." Because another example I can
Mm.
remember from this time last year was in Pakistan when Safraz Ahmed, I forget who the New Zealand batsman was, but Safraz Ahmed caught the ball behind. He barely even, I don't think he even appealed, and and then the batsman was given out, and everyone was going, "Well, why did Safraz not appeal?" And I'm like, well, that's because I don't think he hit it. Like if he the wicketkeeper can only appeal if he thinks the batsman's hit the ball, and I don't think Safraz thought he had hit it. That's why he didn't appeal.
uh, Perhaps because there might be a concentration loss for a fraction of a second. You see like 90 overs, you sit behind and you see that perhaps you lose that concentration for a fraction of a second. You didn't hear it, or that Tikage is like not loud enough. We've seen it many times. Gilchrist walking, Kumar Sangakkara walking. Nobody appeals. Sometimes they walk because they know that they actually touch the ball. So likewise, there are different cricketers, and they also like humans, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Um, anyway, well, look, that's the about all we've got time for today on this first ever episode of the Cricket Trilogy. And Indusan, I'm looking forward to doing this every few days with you. And we've got our next show coming up in 2 days' time. Um, so I guess we'll see what unfolds in the world of cricket over the next couple of days, and we'll catch up with you again. Yeah, on which day? It must be Friday, I think it will be.
We will be, because I think, as we agreed, we'll be like coming back pretty much soon, and we'll be discussing a lot of things. And if you feel, I mean, if you listen to this and if you feel that is there any area that we you thought that we should speak in these things, you can always mention in the comment box. And
Ex-
Ian will be like will be look into it, and we'll be speaking in the, because we'll be like recording this shows like every other day technically, like 3 days a
yeah.
week. So we thought of like we can discuss it. We have enough time to do that.
All right then. Well, from me and Indusan, we're signing off here on the Cricket Trilogy on Global Cricket Radio.